What's good, everybody? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson back at it again with another collaboration, guys. And I really appreciate you guys for all the support. Give yourselves a round of applause. And today I have one of my brothers from California. He decided to rock with me today. He's an up and coming YouTuber, but a very talented brother in his own right. I'm gonna let him explain who he is and what his channel is about.
Excellent, thank you. So yes, I'm attorney Don Dennis, and my channel is devoted to helping people understand how the law affects their business deals. My goal is to help people get paid for their ideas and their brand names and not get played for them. I deal in transactions, and the goal is just for everyone to understand what's happening, because people think that if something goes wrong, they'll just go to court, but most cases never make it to court. Most of the time you're trying to resolve it some other way. And in the meantime, you're just sitting outside, sitting in the rain, waiting on a rainbow, trying to resolve things and hoping and praying that things go better for you. So to avoid getting into that situation, I offer a lot of tips, helpful advice, and contractual educational information so people can avoid these types of things. And as always, my content is rated R for real and not PG for playing any games.
All right, give him a round of applause. And shout out to my brother there. Say he's a California brother like me. We the best ones out here. Don't be mad. He has a really good resume. Northwestern undergrad, UCLA Law School. So he know what he's talking about today. So, brother Attorney Dennis, what is our topic today? What are we dealing with?
Today we're talking about why attorneys quit on people, such as the situation we're hearing now that Kanye West is on his fourth attorney and dealing with his divorce and family law issues. And so people always are thinking, I can fire my attorney, but in fact, sometimes attorneys fire clients. And so we're going to get into that so people can understand what goes on and why an attorney might do that in the first place.
Okay. That's a good thing. So go ahead on and why does that happen?
Well, in general, when you pick an attorney, the attorney is also picking you. So it's not just a one-sided relationship. It's a long-term relationship. It could take several years to go to trial in the first place. And when you have that relationship between a client and an attorney, it's always almost like a marriage or some other type of relationship. And the attorney doesn't want to be in a bad relationship. They don't want to deal with someone that's not going to cooperate. They don't want to deal with someone that's not going to show up on time, give them documents or evidence that they need, or pay them. And if you kind of get hints or tips of something going wrong, then an attorney may be like, let me get out of this deal. This is not the best deal. It's best that we sever ties right now before we go any further. Because if the attorney messes around and lets it go too far, and they're in the midst of trial or they're approaching trial, then you have to request permission from the judge to get off the case. And the judge may simply say, no, you can't withdraw. So you could be in a situation as an attorney where you have to work and the client stop paying you and you can't get off the case. Or you could be in a situation where the client's paying you a little bit or partially cooperating and partially not cooperating, but you still have a legal, ethical duty to keep working because you don't want to lose your bar license. So these are important things. And so the reason this came up and came to mind is because it said that Kanye West recently in the news is on his fourth attorney. So now it's kind of like this. If you took your car to a mechanic and had the mechanic working on it, and then the mechanic and you got into it or got into some kind of disagreement and he stops working and the engine is still broken down, how many other mechanics are going to pull in and say, sure, I'll take over this project and be responsible for whatever someone before me did? Not many. Because they know that once it's all over with, you're going to hold that last person responsible. It's the same thing with law. A lot of attorneys, once they find out you have a reputation for not cooperating, not paying, or just being a hard person to work with, a lot of them aren't going to step into that role, and you're going to have a problem.
So, brother, let me ask you this, because you talked about there are some red flags that are often seen that attorneys will sever ties. I know some brothers may be going through, and they're different. I know you specialize, I believe, in this trademark law. Is that what it is?
I specialize in intellectual property and business transactions. So trademark infringement, when someone's stealing your logo, copyright infringement, and then your proprietary information, your trade secrets, your confidential stuff.
Okay, perfect. So that's a really good specialization. I have a sister-in-law that went to Bolt Law School in UC Berkeley
Yeah,
that specializes in something very similar. So, but let me go back to that because a lot of black men may have attorneys for a bunch of different genres of laws. I mean, there's tax,
yeah.
there's child to lead attorney, there's family court. But what are some of the red flags that some of these black men that are watching us today that that their attorney may drop them and they may not know what those red? Can you go into what those red
Sure.
flags may be?
For example, let's say a client comes into my office and I ask the client, please bring me all the information and all your evidence. And the evidence could be in the form of text messages, emails, paperwork, or whatever it is regarding your case. Because think about it, an attorney doesn't know your case. They only know what you give them. So one red flag would be you give me a bunch of disjointed, unorganized information and it takes me forever to put it together, and I still have to keep getting piecemeal information from you. You're not cooperating. Or you give me part of the story and you don't tell me all of it. And as I start investigating and researching on my own, I realize that you left out a lot of it. For example, you come to me and say, hey, someone stole my logo, someone stole my website. And in actuality, you stole the website or something. So dishonesty is another big problem. Failure to get the paperwork in. Also, there are certain deadlines. So if we're filing a lawsuit or if I'm pursuing your claim, there's a statute of limitations. So I need that evidence within a certain period of time. And if I have to keep hounding you and calling you and asking you to turn the information over, why continue that relationship? Because I'm trying to fight for you. And in the midst, I end up having to fight with you to get stuff. Showing up on time is a big red flag for attorneys. If you don't show up on time and we have meetings set up, I have experts that you ask me to get together, or I have other people that can help, you're not there on time, that's a problem. Or failing to show up to court. Another real big thing that a lot of clients don't realize that hurts their case is if they're not organized. You tell me what your case is about, and then we have a deposition or we have something going on, and you don't have the facts memorized, or you don't remember the things that you're telling me happened. So it makes you look unbelievable, and it makes the jury, if we have to get to court, it makes them believe that you don't know what you're talking about, or maybe you're lying and making all of this up.
So those are great things. So let me kind of go back to this for black men that may be going through some of these issues and not understanding. Because I want to talk about Kanye West. If you look at Kanye West, he is the epitome of entertainment success. I know that you're in Los Angeles.
Yes.
I think Kanye West is somewhere in the area.
Yeah.
He's a big deal with Adidas, billions of dollars. And you would think that, because I told you, offline, I wanted to be a tax attorney myself.
Yeah.
But if you think about somebody like Kanye West, you think like, wow, this guy, I would want to put up with his shit just because if I have a chance to really work with him, that's going to connect me to a lot of people in the celebrity world, right? Because if I deal with him, I'm going to be a celebrity attorney, and that can open up a myriad of doors for me.
That's right.
So with that leverage, why not stick with somebody like Kanye West when you have, especially in a city like Los Angeles where you're at, you have a lot of opportunities, a lot of people in the network. He's a billionaire. Surely this is going to be a good deal at the end of the day because it's Kanye West, right?
That's one side of the story. But from the other side of the story, sometimes the headaches aren't worth it. Sometimes the fact that, because think about it, if you have a client, regardless of how great they are on their personal success, business side of their success, when we're talking about doing business in terms of as an attorney, what an attorney's responsibilities are to the court, to turning in paperwork, to making deadlines, all of that doesn't mean anything, because all it takes is a series of you missing filing deadlines for the judge to start looking at you sideways. All it takes is because sometimes it's not only that you're working things out with the court, but throughout this whole process, if you're going to have a case, you're going to be dealing with something for years, you're going to have a relationship with the other attorneys. So you're going to need them to cooperate with you. It's going to be some give and take. You're going to need them to exchange information. And sometimes there might be a situation regarding evidence where you need something to come in, or, you guys, it's always a give and take. And so if you can't show that you have any type of client control, then that greatly diminishes your reputation. In addition, it diminishes your level of respect that you have in the industry. So if you look at some of the attorneys that dropped him, one was a professor at Pepperdine University Law School, and he's already a noted expert. Another was another great celebrity, famous family law attorney. So at the end of the day, I think they weigh both sides and say, yes, this is a great person because of notoriety, but on the other hand, I have a career that's going to go on after this client, because all cases, I have a career that I'm focused on, not just one person.
Okay, so let me ask you a question that a lot of the brothers that watch me are probably thinking. So, what do I need to do if I have a situation, you know, child support, the normal Negro type of stuff, or even something in your field, intellectual property, and this is a good attorney he's recommended? What do I need to do? Because I think a lot of guys think like, well, okay, because I'm paying for the service, this person doesn't have, they're just going to accept me and whatever I got to deal with, So how do you prepare to have a good attorney on your side to make the jobs easier for them, to make sure you can establish a good working relationship with a really, really good attorney?
Well, first of all, you want to make sure you pick the right attorney and make sure they're qualified. Make sure they have experience in the exact area that you need them in. So if it's family law, you want an attorney that has recent, up-to-date experience. Also, you want to make sure they are familiar with the court that they're going into. So, for example, if you're dealing with an attorney that your matter is going to be decided in Los Angeles, then you want an attorney that has been in LA County courts, that's licensed in California. I bring this up because the attorney that now, according to the news, is representing Kanye is out of Pennsylvania, and he doesn't necessarily specialize in divorce. So you have an out-of-state attorney that has to deal with California law, and you have someone that doesn't even specialize in the area of law that you need. So you want to, first and foremost, before you form that relationship as a client, make sure you have somebody that is specialized in your area. Second of all, when you decide to work with that attorney, interview them. Is this someone that you like their personality? Is this someone that you understand? One complaint I get from friends and people off the street all the time is, yes, I have an attorney, but I don't really understand what he's talking about. I don't really understand what the paperwork she provided me. I'm still lost. So you want to make sure you guys can communicate with each other. And also, so as not to get back to your question, as not to get dropped by that attorney, just cooperate. If you have to pay the attorney, pay the money when it's due. The same way anyone is not trying to go to work for free. Attorneys are not trying to go to work for free. Sometimes there's a misconception because you see on TV people getting in criminal law public defenders, and you get sometimes that level of service. If they have a bunch of clients that they're representing for free, it's only so much time they can devote to that. So you show attorneys respect by paying them when the bill is due, or paying them in advance the retainer that they ask for. When you get to bargaining, then it's kind of like you're dealing with somebody on contingency, like you're chasing an attorney that just does car accidents or personal injury. And when you're dealing with stuff like that, you can just, you can't set necessarily all the time your expectations too high, because you get what you pay for. And if you're working for somebody and you're not going to get paid for a year, how diligent are you going to work on that every single day? Because at the end of the day, attorneys, like other people, have to eat. So pay when you need to pay, get the paperwork to them and the evidence that they need to fight your case, and cooperate, because things come up and change, and you have to be flexible throughout the process.
So let me ask you this. Kanye does have obviously some money. I know that some of his money is tied up in Adidas and some investments. It might not necessarily be liquid. But do you think that one of the reasons why he was dropped by some of the attorneys was because of his inability to pay? Was that the issue, you think?
I don't think so at all. What one of the attorneys said was that the relationship was irreconcilable and it had become extremely difficult to communicate. When attorneys get off of a case or drop a client, if they are not in the midst of trial, a lot of times the agreement between an attorney and the client just simply says at any point within like 7 days notice, you can fire me as your attorney and I can fire you as a client. So and then in terms of divulging what exactly the communication breakdown, what the problem is, that can get into attorney-client privilege. So most likely you'll never find out all the ins and out unless the client starts talking. But from what is said in the media, it had become extremely difficult for the client, for the attorney to work with Kanye, and also very little communication, which leads me to believe communication is a broad term. It can include responding to my emails and text messages in a certain period of time, or replying to letters, or I fill out some paperwork we need to send into the court. I need you to look it over just to make sure that I captured your thoughts and your ideas properly. Because you don't want to send something in and it's wrong, and then we have to redo it, and we're wasting time and money and missing deadlines.
Okay. And so these rules that you're giving us, it applies through all practices of law, or disciplines of law, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So let me kind of get back to, this whole idea of making sure, and I know, like, you're a Black attorney, obviously, and I want to ask you a personal question, because sometimes we tend to be a little bit familiar with us as a race of people. So do you feel that sometimes as a Black attorney, you're from South Central, I know, right? You're from and you went to, you're an engineer, and then you went to UCLA Law School. So you performed at a high level. But some of our people could be like, well, got a Black attorney, I ain't really got to take him as serious and stuff like that. Have you experienced that in the profession? And if so, can you speak to that?
Sure. Sometimes there is a lack of professionalism by clients, in which they not necessarily take your level of expertise as seriously as they need to. And then that as well becomes a decision for the attorney. Is this the type of client that you want to deal with? Because you want, whether it's dealing with Black clients or anyone else, you want to make sure that you're respected. And the reason being is that when you show up for work, I show up with 110% of everything that I have to bring to make sure my clients are successful. And if I feel that my time or anything is not being respected, especially after going through, as you stated, all this school, 7 years of school, and it's not like you're going to school for free. It's not like anybody can just go to school. You're putting a lot of time, effort, and energy into studying for a bar exam, studying for final exams, and paying your annual dues and membership fees. So all of that, it's not even, worth it. You might give someone a warning, you might speak to them, but if you're not seeing the level of professionalism that dictates and resembles respect, then it's best to move on.
Right. And in your case, I know you don't really talked about it. Your brother that went to Northwestern, that's an excellent school. You're an engineer, and then you talked about, you studied, and then you went to law school. So, and you really worked yourself because I'm trying to get these guys to understand the other side of the coin. Because attorneys get sometimes a bad rap for, you can't trust them and things like that. But as far as what you told me, and I went to a similar path, myself going to professional school, going to medical school, we take these risks, and kind of become non-traditional students, when you go to law school or medical school in your 30s or something like that. You're really betting on yourself, and you're, paying, $300,000 and maybe, grad loan school debt or professional school debt. So when you're dealing with a client like, hey, you can't be fucking with me because, bro, like, I put a lot of time into this shit, and I mean to curse, but you need to stop. You need to get your shit together. You know what I mean? And so we want to tell these brothers out here that are listening to this that these attorneys are also people too. They've also invested into their education and studied for bars, and then sometimes went and got masters or LLMs 2 years after that. And have families and things like that. So they need to have their money too, and their ability to do the job. Because if you're gonna waste your time, they can deal with another client.
Yeah.
So you look at it. Go ahead.
No. I agree. No, you're correct. And there's a lot involved in it, because not only, like you said, it's the process of going through it, but you're also dealing with some of the things that can make things harder based on being Black. And you have to overcome that, because no one wants to hear about any excuses. When you sit down and take the bar exam, nobody cares about the fact that you're Black. Either you know the answer to the question or you don't. When you go to engineering school, you have calculus homework or physics or chemistry or advanced thermodynamics. It does not matter about your race. Right. It matters whether or not you know the content. So the same way as you elevate your mind to focus on, look, I have to know the content. That's just the bottom line. And because I'm on that level, you easily are able to identify. Now, I understand that certain people in our community don't always have an appreciation for that, because, and
Right.
they may not have an appreciation because how many people are around them that have taken a similar path of these type of schools.
Exactly.
So sometimes it's a matter of educating and explaining and trying to work with people, but at a certain point, either you get on board or you don't, and then you have to, the bus has to keep moving. And what ends up happening, unfortunately, and this is why I have my channel, is because I want to explain some of the intricacies of the law in layman's terms to people so they can understand what all's going on, because they don't
Right.
necessarily see that. They just see, oh, it's an attorney. I saw something on TV. I was
Right.
watching 61st Street. I was watching Law and Order, and look how exciting trial is. It's a whole lot that goes on. Most trials, a week, a couple weeks leading up to trials, it may take years. It's a whole lot of paperwork, a whole lot of study, a whole lot of diligence. And there are, and getting to your point, to be honest, there are some attorneys that don't give their all to cases. And that's why some attorneys, just like there's some bad police officers, there's bad teachers, there's bad of every profession. So there are some bad attorneys that practice a bad name. And that's why it's so important to vet people to get an idea of who you're working with. If you say, what's a good restaurant for Italian food? Well, it only takes an hour at most to make the food. So you can find out from anyone on Yelp or something like that, is it really good? When you're talking about an attorney, we're talking about a relationship somebody might have had with him for over a year.
Right.
And that's a lot longer. So we need to know, yeah, they started off nice. Yeah, they collected my money. They shook my hand. They sent me a thank you email. But how did they perform the whole way out? Were they diligent? Did they answer the phone? Stuff like that. So these are the things that I try to break down to people, because 80%, only 80% of cases filed in California for over $25,000 never go to trial. And only 1% of cases filed for $25,000 or less go to trial. And on the federal level, only 1 or 2% ever go to trial. So most cases, most situations, most disputes, or anything that you have going on, you're never going to go before a judge. So you have to get that out your mind. It's going to get thrown out for some reason or another. And so since we're getting back to what the contracts are going on. What kind of contracts do you have signed? Did you have somebody review it? An important lesson for Black people especially is to read what you sign before you sign it, because it only can take 5 seconds or maybe even a minute to get yourself into a contract or a deal, regardless of anything, regardless of how much someone is promising to pay you, but it can take years to get out of it. And once you're stuck, you're just stuck.
Wow. I'm glad you broke that down, brother. And again, I definitely appreciate you. I want to bring you back. I have a really good topic for you. If I get time, is that's controlling the Black male image as a trademark. And give you some time to think about it. That would be a good one. It's something that Kevin Samuels would definitely want to talk about. But before we go, let people know about why they should subscribe to your channel, Attorney Don Dennis.
People should subscribe to my channel because at the end of the day, we all are making moves. We all are doing business deals and transactions, trying to improve our state of life. And as I said, most cases never go to trial. And before something even can go to trial, it's got to be a dispute over something, whether it's a contract, a deal, or anything. And I want to see my subscribers succeed. I want to see them make the most money possible off of any business deal or transaction that they have presented. And then once they have a deal, once they work hard to create a brand name, a logo, a website, I want to see them protected and not have it taken from them, not have it stolen from them, or not have other people make money off of them that they're not entitled to. And it's a long process. There's a lot of technical things involved in the law. However, by subscribing to my channel, I will break that down for you, make it simple for you, and put it in plain English so that you can succeed, which is the goal, to see everyone succeed and continue to grow and prosper.
All right, give him a round of applause. So I definitely thank the attorney. He's a very talented brother. He's from the great state of California, like myself. And he didn't ask me to come on. I asked him to come on because I wanted to bring our talented brothers that have come from similar situations in our communities, come up just like many of us. And he's made it to where he is today. So I want him to be a beacon of inspiration for you, for the brothers out there, whether you are going the traditional college route, or some of us may be the non-traditional route. Both of me and him have taken that same path. I want brothers to be encouraged. We have African-American brothers that look just like us, that are out here succeeding on a very high level. I have the utmost respect for our brother. He went to UCLA School of Law. That is one of the top 10 or 15 law schools in the country. So he's one of our best people. You know what he's talking about. So I want you guys to go over there and subscribe to him. Hit the bell. Brothers, any last words you want to say?
Well, first and foremost, I definitely want to thank you for the time and for just inviting me and all the offline conversations with encouragement and educational information. Because at the end of the day, the same intent of your channel to help other people, you are demonstrating that by reaching out and helping people, and you don't have to do it. And so I am of the same mindset, wanting to help people, and that's what it's all about. So I appreciate that. Lastly, I want to just make it a fact and speak out to that last point you just said. Regardless of at what age in life you decide to do something, you can do it. So regardless of if you're in South Central LA, if you're in Watts, the South Side of Chicago, the Bronx, Harlem, or the Fifth Ward or something like that, it's not too late. You can still do it. We both were non-traditional. I went to law school in my 30s after doing something else, and you can too. Regardless of what situation you currently see yourselves in, you can look to brothers like O'Shea, like myself, and say they did it. I can do it too. If there's any information that I'm sure I can offer in terms of educational resources or what have you, we're available, and we're willing to share that, because we all want to succeed and want to see others succeed.
All right, and give him a round of applause. And God, I do thank the brother for coming by. Check him out. The first point to the top, and we'll hopefully have him back next week. Give him some time to simmer on this next topic.
Yeah.
And as you know, the buffoonery remains at all-time high. I'm out.